You're listening to White Noise with your host, Drip, 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 Drip.
This is White Noise with Drip and Khal. That's the thing. It's always and Khal. And there's no show without Khal because I need a producer. And if this show was just me rambling by myself, people would definitely have turned it off by episode 1.
Nah. You think? I think people. I think you underestimate yourself, Drip. I think
I
people.
do. I to.
I think people. Well, I'm the same way, but I think people. I think people rock with you more than you may realize. You don't think
Definitely,
so?
because I don't rock with myself. So how can
no. The way people respond to Drip on the timeline and on the show, especially in the live chat. So, shouts to the live chat. Anybody that tunes in on Thursdays.
Double check. Yeah, because this would technically be 18, as we talked about that PSA not really being.
Is it 18? Oh, because we did a live. Yeah, okay.
No, the live counts. I'm saying the PSA doesn't really count as an episode. That's why you called it a baby.
No, yeah,
PSA.
But I had numbered incorrectly. I wasn't thinking about it. Anyway, keep going.
No, but we did the live last week. Shout out to everyone that stopped by. We'll try to do those every few months.
That was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, especially at the end. I think people started to realize, like, they can ask you and I anything about anything. It doesn't have to be just wrestling too. Whatever. I mean, Kyle and I talked about movies, TV, music, a bunch of stuff. I mean,
right.
Talked about the Great Pumpkin at the opening because, like I said, it's iconic and.
You know, I never ended up watching it. I never watched it. I failed Halloween this year. I genuinely was the only thing that I watched was Halloween Ends. That's like the only like new Halloween.
What about on actual Halloween? That's
on actual.
I mean, there was wrestling to watch, but I was recording with Keeks. Shout out to Keeks, Graham and Banks.
Actual Halloween was so quiet. I feel like I was busy though. No, yeah, because I had an extra piece to edit. Like there was a decent edit I had on the pro wrestling matches as horror movies went up that day. So yeah, there was I was working. That may have been the most Halloween-y thing I did that day. But anyway.
Yeah, this is episode 18 of White Noise. And in the past, like this has been a debate, I think, between all of wrestling as a whole, but you and I about like the Wednesday Night War. That still kind of exists in a way.
It can.
I mean, it does now, but the conversation about who won, it's not more or less who won or who lost, because to me, it's about the people themselves, because the perception of these people, these guys, and women as well, that have switched sides, and it has been beneficial for them or not. And given that where they were prior, they weren't doing anything. That's the thing. It's like a couple weeks ago, you had your hopes on Danielson winning the AEW title. Finally, as The Rock would say. And nope, just again, like to bring it back to Charlie Brown, the football is right there, and
yanked it right away from me though. They yanked it away. He knew what was going on. They yanked it away from me. But anyway.
On the same night, finally, Orange Cassidy gets it done and wins the All Atlantic title. No, he lost because I thought on the same night they would win both. A few weeks later, Orange Cassidy would win his in Toronto. No, they had the rematch in Toronto. Yeah, I thought both would happen. Chris Jericho wins in Grand Slam. Orange Cassidy lost, and then
he won at the other one.
Yeah, and Chris Jericho defended against Danielson in Toronto, and Orange Cassidy finally won the title in Toronto. Yeah,
I don't even remember what the Toronto show was called. That had a
no, it was just AEW. No, it was just AEW in Toronto is what it was. I think. Oh, it wasn't like how it was Grand Slam in New York. It was. I don't think it had.
It wasn't.
It wasn't like Great White North or
yeah.
Connecticut.
The Titans in Toronto or Toronto, the Toronto takedown.
It wasn't the 6-6. We'll get to that a little bit later. In a way. But yeah, I mean, there's the whole debate about tribalism, and I think you and I are friends, acquaintances with people who are definitely pro one side and anti the other.
Right.
In this space. Even on our own show, again, Mimi, shout out to her, love her, is very anti AEW, pro WWE.
Very much so.
I think I'm probably the only person on the show that leans more towards AEW in that favoritism, but I do see the faults within AEW as well, as I always harp on with its booking and incoherentness. And she's smart to point out that, again, it focuses on giving you dream matches
all the time. Yeah, that's the MO. Yeah,
and I think with these people that have, switched sides, that's life has been able to like breath has been able to like live on in that. You know what I mean? Like it's to give it life is what I'm trying to say. It's like,
right.
Like Samoa Joe. I just remember this prior. So that's why that image was set at the last second. Like, think about this. Samoa Joe last summer wins the NXT title in like a comeback story. He had a bad 2019, 2020 hampered by injuries. His whole main roster one was really, lesser than because of the injuries he was getting. And as he was getting older and all that, but he had moments where he was shining. I mean, that Roman Reigns feud, he was challenging Kofi Kingston when Kofi was champ. But it wasn't living up to the promise of him as an NXT champion, and more so him in the years he had in TNA and our Ring of Honor prior to that.
Right.
It was just a thing where like his career kind of passed him by, or age betrayed him as he had finally gotten to the main roster. But he goes back to NXT, plays this commissioner role, or enforcer to the commissioner in terms of William Regal was being the general manager at that time, and he chokes out Adam Cole and is willing to break up all these fights. And then finally Karrion Kross is threatening to leave NXT with the NXT title. And then Samoa Joe's like, no, you won't. I'll take the NXT title from you. And we'll get to Karrion Kross a little bit later, but Samoa Joe wins the match at TakeOver. And then he vacates it like 2 weeks later. And then 2.0 starts to happen.
Yeah.
And the writing is on the wall that, 2.0 is because Triple H will no longer have any involvement. And neither will a lot of the people that were responsible for Black and Gold NXT. So Samoa Joe, who was already fired in the COVID releases, was brought back because Triple H, he was a Triple H guy. Triple H saw something in him. And again, injuries happen. And he was on commentary prior to being released was the thing.
Yeah, he was doing work for him. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like there's a famous photo of him with the poncho at WrestleMania.
Well, that's right,
because it's raining outside.
He was one of my favorite parts because he was doing commentary early during the Thunderdome era, and then I want to say they transitioned him out fairly soon. I forget why. He might have started wrestling at some point, but anyway.
No, he got released, and then he goes to NXT.
Oh, and that's when he came back. That's right.
And then he shows up to AEW, and then he basically is like kind of supposed to be, I guess, a new pillar of Tony Khan's ROH. He wins the ROH television title from Minoru Suzuki, who had just won it like a few days prior against Rhett Titus in Dallas. And since then, he, again, as ROH television champ, he was filming Twisted Metal, the TV show on Peacock,
right,
during most of the summer. So that's why he was gone. But again, like, he's got to take it easy. I mean, as I said, he's kind of very injury prone, and you can see he's lost a step in the ring, which is unfortunate.
It's an older man.
What do you think about him? And again, is he one of these casualties that's happened in the Wednesday Night War?
I think one of the things with Samoa Joe is I say Samoa Joe, but really with the way that Tony Khan is starting to like softly shape Ring of Honor. He's big on nostalgia, but I think you also need OGs over there. And I, like talking about needing OGs in places like a constant conversation I have. But if you look at
OG's not in the home, like
wow, the CM Punk MJF thing, he built so much of that off of it was basically, let's remind you of why CM Punk was great in Ring of Honor in this modern era. It was a very interesting way to use that stuff. And I think while CM Punk can't be the leader, I think it's going to be important that Bryan Danielson, that Claudio Castagnoli, that Samoa Joe, that you've got a number of these names who work down there, understand why Ring of Honor is important and can still work with the people today, like a Chris Jericho was working with an Omega or an Adam Page, or like anytime you have an older, talented pro wrestler that can still go, and that's ultimately going to be the person whenever the story's over, they're going to be the one on their back and putting over that new talent. I think Samoa Joe being Jay Lethal, them being there once Ring of Honor is a thing, it's going to be so necessary. So I think while it felt, I think when Samoa Joe, his last WWE run if he didn't go to AEW, he would have for sure been a real casualty of the Wednesday Night War, because he could have been a much more vital role in NXT as they were going back and forth with AEW. But
well, that's the thing. Well, if anything, if 2.0 doesn't happen, I still think he relinquishes the title, but does what he's doing now, where he'll wrestle every so often. Because
Right.
again, it was probably just the having to wrestle so consistently on the road, house shows. Again, like I said, he's an older guy. Your body
It's a
breaks
lot.
down. And the injuries he had were bad. Like, and he had a bad concussion, and that was kind of why he wasn't cleared for the longest time. That's why Adam Cole's not back, and we'll get to that a little bit later as well in terms of what happens. But I think by Triple H bringing him back, and that was again us in a way to like to spite Vince. Like, what are you doing? Like, this guy has value. Like, don't you get like even as a talker that this guy's still good, and I can make him an on-screen character that can get physical if we can't trust him in a full match. And if you watch that Karrion Kross match, it is like, oh, this Joe's a little bit rusty. It wasn't, the smooth Samoa Joe that we'd been seeing prior. And it's kind of taken a while in AEW to get the same thing. He, like I said, beats Minoru Suzuki, and that was a dream match in itself. I mean, two hard-hitting guys going at it. And then Joe faces Adam Cole in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament final, and he loses. Adam Cole wins, and that's again, he feuds with Jay Lethal, and like he's been gone, but now he's back teaming with Wardlow with this whole Wardlow thing. But the writing's clearly on the wall that's about to start crumbling.
Don't make no sense.
Yeah, it was a failed idea about, I think, Tony Khan trying to give Wardlow like the rub with like an established name like Joe, who everyone likes, but people already liked Wardlow was the thing, so that didn't make.
But what I like that you mentioned that, because I was going to say, you mentioned earlier, even if Joe stayed during the 2.0, like Joe could have been someone who was an OG for Braun Breaker. He could have had a similar
situation. That's why they had
situation.
Kept Tommaso Ciampa, and that's why guys like Johnny Gargano and I think Kyle O'Reilly left, is they probably felt like either I'm going to be stuck here having to job to these way inexperienced people, and a few ones who caught on early. Like, obviously, Carmelo Hayes had an indie career, but Braun Breaker was at the Performance Center, the Diamond Mine at the Performance Center, but those guys caught on quick. But again, Kyle O'Reilly was feuding with Von Wagner. You think he wanted to be stuck in a program continuing to feud with Von Wagner and having to put over Brooks Jensen and all that? Like
that. You're right. You're right.
And Samoa Joe probably would have been locked into that role. Like, I got to put over these guys who need reps, and the Trick Williams of the world, who, they're still a year or two away from being a year or two ready. Like, is the important part.
Right.
But that's how it goes. So he took the easy way out. With the ROH, Tony Khan buying ROH, that was like perfect timing. But now with Triple H back in power, I wonder if he's one of these people who had been reached out, given those rumors a few months ago about like, come back over, get out of your contract.
Maybe. The way Triple H has been moving things, a Samoa Joe could fit perfect. And he's a great talker. And he'd probably be doing a hell of a lot more talking over there than he would here. But
again, detrimental to what he's doing. And that's, I think, the thing where the anti-AEW people have an argument where sometimes these people lose their luster when they cross over to AEW, and where they are supposed to have this freedom of no scripts and you can do what you want. Obviously, Jon Moxley says whatever he wants. MJF says whatever he wants. Chris Jericho does and says whatever he wants. But some people, for some reason, doesn't hit the same. Whether now that they have so much freedom, it's different. Maybe they do need a script to work behind.
Some people need that structure. Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. Yeah.
But Joe is now 43. He turned 43 this year.
That's OG status. He
can debut in 99.
That's a lot. That's a thing. It's like him. I don't know if he needs a title, but him having a title or him just being on every now and again is perfect.
But like I said, once it probably goes to ROH in terms of that being its own show, own brand, we'll see more of it. In AEW, it's just been he's had some good matches, but
he could be a commissioner. He could be the first ROH commissioner under the Tony Khan, just being that figurehead for what needs to go, code of conduct, shake all the hand bullshit, whatever it's called. Code of honor. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think they definitely need, because that's what Nigel McGuinness was doing prior to him leaving, along with commentary. He was the commissioner of ROH, if I'm not mistaken. But
and he's somebody, and he doesn't outside of Wardlow, he ain't really got much.
he was in that awful feud with Jay Lethal. That was the thing where like inside that's how the Satnam Singh was introduced, and Sanjay Dutt came to AEW, and that's this run hasn't been what we thought it would have been. And there was all that there were those jokes around the time when like he looked unhappy at the signing when Tony Khan, remember, or like people were at the same time Kevin Owens seemed unhappy until it like he had re-signed and he got the Stone Cold Steve Austin match, and people were playing into like, well, one guy you said looked unhappy and he got this and this, and then now you can't say Samoa Joe looks unhappy. Like, yeah, he did. But I think it was in tours like, I guess this is my career now. Like I gotta
I think the other thing is it's like Kevin Owens being unhappy with Triple H as the leader means that Kevin Owens, and you saw
this was at WrestleMania. Now
no, but what I'm saying is right at WrestleMania, Vince was the guy. Kevin Owens upset. Think of how quickly that turned around. It was only 4 months, so he could have been like kind of marinating for a bit, and then his stock goes up. Samoa Joe, it's going to take longer because Samoa Joe's stock doesn't really rise right now until Ring of Honor is a thing, and he's able to be hopefully over there and be instrumental in building the foundation for what that is. So him being unhappy right now in hopes of a better outcome for him or a better situation for him to perform and do what he does more, I could see that. But again, the onus is going to really be on Tony Khan to make that Ring of Honor thing happen, because we haven't heard anything, and there's a lot of titles being shown on various AEW television shows, and no real word of when they're going to have a home of their own. So
I mean, they got the pay-per-view at the end of the year, like they normally do again. Final Battle in Dallas.
They've been throwing them, yeah.
We won't put the image that has the ROH logo in it on, because that kind of is a perfect segue into what's next. Again, they buy ROH after they were rumored to be shutting down for a majority of this year, at least the spring is what it seemed like. They're going to put on the event in Dallas and then kind of recalibrate and maybe become what a PWG is. We'll just put on super card shows every few often and not have contracted talent like we used to. People will be able to come in and out as they please, which made sense. But since then, Tony Khan has kind of revived these titles, which is why we have FTR as the champs. And I think in a way, these are two guys who, again, are they casualties given how they showed up with the promise of the best tag team in the world? That was on the other side, and they get their dream match with they're able to beat Hangman Page and Kenny Omega for the titles, only to lose them right away to the Bucks in the Ultimate Dream match. And then what do they do after that? Remember, they were in the Pinnacle.
Yeah.
They fought the Inner Circle, and then what do they do after that? They had a feud with Santana and Ortiz, and that's where Cash Wheeler had the unfortunate accident with his arm.
Right.
Which is why they took some time off. And then they win the ROH World titles from the Briscoes. Then they win, I think they won the AAA titles maybe before that. And then, because right after they won the ROH titles, the Young Bucks came out at that pay-per-view to challenge them the following Dynamite. And then for the ROH titles, while they still had the AAA titles, because the Young Bucks we've had those titles before and those titles before. And that's when they got their win back against the Bucks. And then at Forbidden Door, they win the IWGP tag titles and now have been making treks to Japan or New Japan USA, which is more or less in California, New York, and all that. But they're finally kind of getting the shine that they maybe should have gotten right away, according to them and fans of theirs. Because as people know, I'm not a fan of the Revival and FTR. Yeah,
I don't remember much of the Revival. I've looked back and I remember not liking their feud with the Usos. I thought, but it was
about the shaving and
it was such bad comedy that it was one of the I would tune those segments out. Anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, they're two guys who, again, influenced by the old school. They want to be Arn and Tully. They want to be Midnight Express. They want to do this, and I'm not saying that doesn't work now, but there was a reason I think Vince McMahon never saw it in them. And it could be, again, their size, how they're both undersized, their look. Again, they look older than they probably are.
Yeah, all of that.
And that, again, that's probably what hindered Samoa Joe. As much as Samoa Joe could talk and carry a feud, and Vince McMahon probably enjoyed that. Like, yeah, you can do that every so often, but I think I'll always see you here, not here.
Right.
But I think FTR has suffered given the hype of being the best tag team in the world, that the Young Bucks even hyped up themselves that they're the best tag team besides us.
Right.
And it took really this summer for the outrage and Tony Khan to start doing something with them. But as we've seen, they still aren't the AEW World Tag Team Champions again. And they finally had their number one contender match after being ranked number one for so long.
Right.
I'd say the jury's out on them, given how they have all this gold to kind of like buy their time and keep them happy. But
I think, and I hate to say this because I am a fan of Dax Harwood. Yes, I said his name right.
Yeah.
Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler are too close together for me sometimes.
Well, because they were Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder.
That shit don't make no damn sense.
Dash is Cash and Scott is Dax.
Well, because Scott Dawson's his real name though, right? His name is Scott.
Is it? I'm not aware.
Didn't
you edit the interview?
I had to edit the whole thing. He's David Harwood. I'm sorry. His ring name was Scott.
Oh wow.
Dawson. Yeah, his real name. I knew one of his ring names was his real name.
Was a real one, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, no, I got more into them as FTR, but it's kind of, again, I guess because it's let me show my age again. No, it's I think it's the idea of the ultimate, when I want to see it, like the ultimate homage to the Andersons, the Midnight Express, and then like, yeah. but then like every great Bret Hart match you've ever seen, you know what I mean? Like they do all of that. If I'm in the mood for seeing that, like really good, like 80s and 90s especially tag team pro wrestling, yeah. I'll watch an FTR match. There's a couple of matches, the Briscoe matches. I think they've had 2 or 3 matches with them.
They had 2, yeah. They had the one in Death Before Dishonor in Dallas, and then Super Card of Honor was in Dallas. Death Before Dishonor was the one they had in the summer. Yeah. That's a 2 out of 3 falls one.
They've been doing great work, great tag team work, and actually them having to be in a match to be considered the number one contenders for the AEW tag titles. I get it. I understand what that means when you say it, but the fact that they come to that match holding 3 world tag team titles, it makes it kind of absurd. And then they lost the match. It just seems kind of absurd, and it's kind of indicative of how, despite of like literally what they can do on paper, it doesn't mean that they're actually considered a top tier tag team on anybody's realistic level. Nobody's talking about them for a Full Gear world tag team title match, and they could easily have one of the best matches of the night.
They were going to shoehorn their way into that, but AEW already did 2 triple threat tag team matches this year, and that for that to be a reoccurring thing would be kind of.
They don't even be on the pay-per-views.
Well, that's the part. Again, I think they are casualties, and I know they really didn't play. Again, I know the Wednesday Night Wars is October of 2019. Again, NXT and Dynamite head-to-head. And even though they were on the main roster by then, there was, I think, that 4th or 5th week to promote Survivor Series where they showed up to face Undisputed Era, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly for the NXT tag titles while they were main roster talent. So they played a factor in a little bit, and them being part of the release is why they were able to join AEW in 2020.
And it was a big deal. It was a huge deal for them to jump, and then again the perception being such
and
a
main
great
roster
tag team
play out like it did. Again, you mentioned the Usos feud, and they were able to brag about being 7-star FTR because they won the Raw and SmackDown titles, but against 2. And do you remember those wins and those feuds? Because one got injured right away was the thing when they got called up. One got injured, and I think the other got injured sometime. They were almost kind of cursed like Authors of Pain, where like the run could never fully get off the ground, just like how the Authors of Pain with Seth Rollins looked amazing. Like, this is going to be awesome. Then Buddy Murphy joined. Like, this is going to be a great stable, and they get injured, and we haven't seen any of those guys since in terms of the Authors of Pain.
So FTR definitely casualties of the Wednesday Night Wars.
Yeah, because they have to resort to being ROH, IWG, and IWGP and AAA tag champs. It's again like Tony Khan. You bought these guys just to like put them on the shelf in a way.
That's sad. They had to coordinate the holding of the titles. So they look at how much they got the same FTR thing on there's such a pure 1988 tag team.
It's
They
like
got
how they were
different
saying
books, though.
Triple H would buy the talent to hoard it, and then when one guy would get caught up, now this person would finally get some shine. That was the kind of the thing with Mr. 52 for a while. It's like he wasn't doing nothing that first year until finally guys got caught up and he got his turn.
Right.
But one main Triple H guy was Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly was able to come over last year, and we did a whole episode about Adam Cole. Shouts out to Matt and Cole Corver, as he called him. People like SGG, like Meals and J5 have said Adam Cole has lost his swagger. He used to be that guy. He used to be him. And since going to AEW, he hasn't been that guy. I will say that is a fact. But again, I think I always wonder if Tony Khan is vengeful of like that. You know what I mean? To like stick it to the very Triple H guys.
To punish the performer,
regardless if he's the Young Bucks' close friend, and because remember Hangman Page beat this man twice back to back, like, and then he lost Orange Cassidy in the unsanctioned match, and he won the Owen Hart Foundation tournament in all this, but
honestly, I think if you told me I wasn't close with Tony Khan and then I wasn't booked anymore, I could see that before he punished. I think he's signing people, I think for the most part, because he thinks they could add something, because he doesn't sign everybody.
Well, you know what I mean? What I think he was planning, and this is why I said a few weeks ago when you asked me in particular if I was happy that the Elite were coming back.
Right.
And I said, I'm happy that Kenny Omega can come back because he'll hopefully finally be healthy.
Right.
Be able to hopefully be that Kenny Omega he once was. Obviously, he won't be able to recapture that 2017, 2018 magic, but not be the guy who was having vertigo on the top rope and being pieced together by tape and having this bad ankle and this bad knee and all that.
Right.
But I wasn't as happy as in terms of like, am I stoked that the Young Bucks are coming back? I mean, I enjoy their matches every now and again, but that feud of Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Adam Cole facing Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, that finally coming to a head. But Bobby Fish is out. Kyle O'Reilly's just as injured as Adam Cole, and there's probably no timetable in terms of like when he'll return.
Bobby Fish is out or Bobby Fish is gone?
I think he's out.
Because he be tweeting like he don't want to be. He be tweeting like, I'm friends with your ops.
Well, don't forget, he's in Impact right now. And I don't know if that's the thing, like how they sent Frankie Kazarian to Impact or what, but like...
But that's not like... It's not like...
He was very anti-CM Punk, and now everyone in that company more or less is anti-CM Punk, which is its own episode later on in the year.
Right. So, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but it's like...
This man's also like 85 years old. I think him being gone is probably best for...
But what's the AEW Impact relationship like? Because it's not NXT WWE, but it's interesting that Bobby Fish being an Impact doesn't mean he's gone from AEW. It just means that he's...
No, I thought that AEW contract was...
Well, that's what I was trying to understand. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Because the only reason they had an Impact relationship in the beginning was Kenny Omega and Don Callis. Don Callis,
his homeboy, hooked it up.
Yeah, and then he won that title, and then everyone was kind of like, this kind of looks shady as fuck. Like, and they sent... I mean, Christian was the only guy to beat him for the Impact title because he was contracted to AEW and he had a history of Impact, knowing that I'll just be a transitional champion.
But do you think the door is open in the future for like
maybe
when Kyle O'Reilly is better? I'm sorry.
And Adam Cole, yeah, because he's the other one who's
Cole's better. Yeah, like when all the pieces are right, they could. If Bobby Fish is good, he's just chilling.
They still need Roddy Strong, and he's trapped in NXT.
What's he doing?
They did that angle where he's injured. That Damon Kemp was the one that attacked him, and
that's probably part of the show I don't watch.
Yeah, no, it's happened in the last 2 months or so.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, if you said in the last 2 weeks, I would have been upset.
No, remember how it was Julius Creed faced Damon Kemp in the ambulance match at Halloween Havoc? Or you know what? Okay. We'll skip over that. But I think Adam Cole has to be a casualty given he showed up. Again, I think he was the one who took the loss at Full Gear last year when it was Jurassic Express and Christian versus the Elite.
Maybe.
or the Super Click, because it was the Young Bucks and Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, he racked up these singles wins, but people would be like, "Oh, you beat Khan. You beat." No offense to Khan, do you know?
No offense to Khan at all. But
I was upset about that. That's why I'm saying it. Like he beat Evil Uno, he beat Frankie Kazarian, he beat Christian Cage.
He wasn't beating what AEW would consider top tier talent.
That's what I'm saying. If you're Adam Cole from NXT, longest reigning NXT champion, shouldn't you beat these? Why do you need to brag about beating these guys? You should. You're Adam Cole, baby. Like
that's what I tried to say when it was going on. And
and what I was saying is, they gotta, he's got to beat guys there. So when he challenges Hangman Page, it'll mean something. And the thing was, he should have beat Hangman Page to show he was that guy. But then that would have killed what they were doing with Hangman Page, because they had finally gotten to the point where like he beat Danielson after the 60-minute time limit draw. Right. Remember they had that 30-minute match where he actually won.
Mm-hmm.
And then he beat Lance Archer, I think, prior to that. And it was the fans hadn't turned on Hangman Page yet. It was kind of after this when they did. And had Adam Cole beaten him, I think that would have saved Hangman Page and kind of the fall from grace in the fans' eyes that he had of being the fan favorite. Because they rode that story of him not being able to get the job done so fucking long, because he went away because he had a child and then came back, and they kind of recaptured it a little bit when Full Gear happened last year. But that slowed down Adam Cole, because they had to have him win the Owen Hart Foundation tournament to matter a little bit. Like but it's a prop belt. It's not.
I was going to say he's not bringing that out everywhere.
Yeah. Remember, people would make fun of him when he did. It's like, you bring out a belt that doesn't matter, but it's supposed to be like the trophy, like.
Bad. I mean, shouts out to Owen Hart, the Owen Hart Foundation. I like that they're working together, but I think the decision to make when he's, because I think Tony Khan said he was like, you'll be surprised when you see what the winner gets. I thought it was going to be a dope trophy. Yeah, I was thinking of like Owen Hart, like
a Stanley Cup or type trophy,
something like, and then to be another belt in a company that has.
And they did that also. Like, again, Britt Baker won the women's side of the tournament, and they were supposed to be this power couple of AEW going forward. And
she don't even be out there with it, does she?
Yeah, no, not anymore. They did it that right, like after the first week, because again, it would be corny to keep carrying this around, but they really don't even mention it with her, at least.
Super corny.
They probably will when he comes back. How he again, like, remember this guy, Adam Cole, like Bebe, like, because
remember Bebe.
Well, people are like, "Oh, he'll come back with the Kingdom," because Matt Taven and Mike Bennett are there, and I'm like, "No, don't put him with those guys. That's even worse."
That sounds terrible.
It isn't, again, because Matt gave me a hard time. Like, I'm not talking about Adam Cole like I used to. I'm like, I can't when he's at home injured. Like, again, they were good. They were kind of building a good story with him and Jay White a little bit about, like, they were saying they were good friend. Like Jay White was like, my good friend Adam Cole, yes. Where it's like, you ain't fucking friends. Like, no, in terms of, like, we know each of you is going to stab each other in the back. That's what the story was. Like, these two Bullet Club guys,
right,
pretending to be friends because they're affiliations in a way. But Kyle O'Reilly, again, Kyle O'Reilly just shows up, puts on bangers. That's all he does. Like,
not anymore though.
Not because he's injured again. He was working injured as soon as he got there was the thing.
Jesus.
But the other one is Miro Rusev. Again, he came over after being released earlier in the year during COVID, and he was basically DOA when he came over with that best man stuff, with all like the Gucci shoes and the like Givenchy sweaters he was wearing or whatever, and the blonde dyed hair. It wasn't until he became the Redeemer that, like, all right, now he's got momentum. And then since then he had that bad hamstring injury, and it's been quiet ever since. He kind of had that run in the summer a little bit, but there was a story this week that CJ Perry, his wife Lana, said that Tony Khan just hasn't really been using him that much, is what it is.
Y'all were so hyped for the Redeemer too.
I've never been a Rusev Miro guy. I think he's a good in-ring worker, but as a character, I've never been a fan.
Every one of those, I was like, yeah, he cut a good promo. He got to get on TV and do some stuff, and then when he went on TV and did some, I don't know. Every time there was a Miro situation, I would have questions, and people would look at me like I was crazy, and so I shut up. And then he got injured.
Yeah,
and then he's
a hamstring that's been lingering with him, and they were hinting at something with him in House of Black. We'll get to them a little bit later. And that's, again, look how all these things are connected in a way. It's like string theory, right? Where like or like connect the dots. Like it's the fucking Always Sunny. Like here, it's it all comes around. And again, these are all ex WWE people. Is probably the burden maybe of why this is going on, but
it's probably a big part of it. Yeah, probably a real big part of it. Yeah.
But Rusev, Miro, I mean, he's been the same guy in both companies. They had him doing comedy stuff in both. Then he was a super serious monster that would just wreck everyone in both. And then he's the guy's like, oh, what do we do with this guy now? It's again, he unfortunately has the same life cycle in WWE that he's having in AEW.
Right.
And I think he's a good talent. Again, like him as the Redeemer talking in that room like he's Brando in Apocalypse Now is good. That's a good look for him and a good way for him to deliver promos because it can be pre-recorded. Again, and he can work when it's a long match, and then again, he's just good at squashing guys.
Yeah, that's his job. Yeah.
I mean, had he won the All Atlantic title, would that have made a difference? Who knows? Because he was a former TNT champ, and his run is only memorable because he squashed guys and then lost it to the fake babyface Sammy Guevara.
Right.
But I don't know. The time I think all these guys are in a way.
This is a bust. This is a bust.
Yeah, I think all except one person's a bust, and that one person is I think on their way to being a bust. If you want to throw up again, House of Black, Malachi Black, I think since it segued into Tommy Yen, one of my favorites on the Indies, that he was killing in BWG. And then when he signed to NXT, the entrance, the matches, I'm someone who's into the occult, like it's a cool thing to. I'm not like he is, but you know what I mean, like that vibe, like, oh, you believe in like this and that. Like it works, especially for wrestling, because it doesn't borderline on supernatural, right? Like that's why I don't like the Bray Wyatt, Uncle Howdy, all this stuff. I prefer what the House of
Kevin
Black
Sullivan.
Is. I mean, is it close to Father and like the well, I mean, let's see, he was doing Tales of the Dark Father, and then he got released. Yeah. Then he showed up with. He sold that eye injury. I love someone who commits to the bit. He sold that Seth Rollins eye injury and kicked Cody Rhodes' head off, which again I was happy about. And just continue to do so since. And they got Brody King, who's good. You got Buddy Matthews, his long-term rival, and now his kind of frenemy in a ways by his side. And the only part is like Julia Hart, because she just really didn't fit from the start. But they're trying.
They were committing to the bit.
Yeah. That was the bad segment though. That whole time, I'm like, this is bad. Knowing that she's just going to join, it still was poorly executed. Like a lot of AEW angles. Yeah,
it took way too long.
That's every angle long term that they tell. Again, like the Jungle Boy Luchasaurus thing is bad now.
No,
well, it's bad then, but I mean, it's.
No, I think you're right. You're 100% right now.
And again, he's a former NXT champ, a Triple H guy, because again, when Triple H cares about you, that every entrance you do at a takeover matters. It has to be so big and grand, and then. Goes up to the main roster and to Vince McMahon, what are you? Like, you just sit in a dark room for weeks, right? 2 different times. He did that when he debuted after breaking it away from Ricochet and put on bangers with Cesaro and, again, Buddy Matthews. And him and Seth Rollins had a good feud.
But wait,
they had an all right one.
Is that him telling Tony Khan, I want my gimmick to be sitting in the dark?
No, I'm saying that Vince McMahon had him in dark rooms twice. Remember the one where Buddy Murphy finally knocked, and then prior to him being released, he was in that room reading the book, telling the story with those poorly drawn animations about the Dark Father, like my father.
No, right, but now the entire room is dark. The whole the whole arena gets dark, and then he emerges.
That's good though. That's good.
But it's all the same. Like it's all the same stuff.
Okay, so when I said this about Cody Rhodes coming to WWE doing the same stuff, people would say it's different.
I think the problem is
Cody No, it's the same fucking thing.
But this is what I'm saying is the results.
It's adrenaline and him.
No. Listen to me. The results are different. Cody Rhodes, you're right. He went over to WWE and had the same theme. He had the same fucking coat. The same guy.
I'm doing it for my daddy.
But guess what? His face was like the beginning of Raw. He's on the fucking production, but this
guy was the EVP of AEW.
But what I'm saying is he did the same shit, but he's in a great position to continue to do the same shit. Malachi Black wasn't doing much in the WWE. he took the same shit and went to AEW and started doing even less.
Yeah.
And
And then the stories come about like he's had a bad back injury the whole time.
But do you think that Tony Khan was like, no, it didn't work over there, it'll work over here, do it? Or was he just like, my only idea is to continue to be in the occult?
It's probably because again, that's Malachi Black's gimmick. That's his main character, is to be this occult character.
Vampiro.
No, better than, don't do that to him. Better than Vampiro.
Fucking not Kevin Sullivan. Raven.
No, better than Raven. Better than Raven. Again, because Raven Raven's the rich kid who pretended to be the grunge kid. That's the story.
But them stories turn, at the very least, he was like, for a while he was the most important part of ECW.
The Malachi Black thing is, again, like being into the occult on SmackDown, like reading that book was like, again, the PG version of that.
Right.
So like you're saying, going to AEW, the room is even darker because now he can do, that's again the creative freedom aspect that people say with no writers. It's like there are no restraints. You can go as dark as you want. The whole arena can go dark and you can appear.
Right.
And you can do the stuff again with spitting mist and the vignettes. The vignette that aired last week, when that's kind of reintroducing them because now they'll be back, was great. And again, you can't have something like that where they hint at drowning someone and setting one on fire and then burying one. Like Vince McMahon would be like, no, we can't show death like that. Like, no. Like,
no, just take his eye out.
Yeah. Well, don't even show him taking his eye out, because remember, they had to have Seth Rollins fake throw up after he took his eye out. And yeah, and again, I much like Miro, I think him winning the All Atlantic title would have helped right away, but they had to give it to Pac at some point because people were crying that Pac was being wasted by not being a champion.
That's the TNT title.
Yeah, that's the one that he held. Remember, like, with his design, the All Atlantic title. I'm thinking it's like House of Black is better as a trios champions because they can put on a great match.
Yeah, but
that great rivalry with Lucha Bros and Death Triangle is what I should say. Yeah,
I think the thing is, you gotta either you have to believe in the gimmick or you have to believe in the wrestlers to get the gimmick over. I feel like they tried it a little, but they weren't putting them into any type of programs that felt important. Malachi Black as a singles wrestler didn't feel like a real threat.
It was Cody. He shows up, he gets introduced to feud with Cody, he beats Cody, then he beats Cody again.
Even then,
yeah,
because once you're aligned in a storyline with Cody Rhodes, you know that storyline has like there is an ending, and at a certain point, you're just going to go do something else. Like that storyline wasn't going to do anything but have Cody
look like he was about to get killed. For the next guy, because don't forget, at Full Gear last year, again, this is how it's all full circle in a way. It was Malachi Black and Andrade versus Pac and Cody, and what happened to Andrade?
Look,
right after this, what happened to Andrade? He got put through the flaming table, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when I said enough is enough, Cal. Math, fam. I said Cody Rhodes.
Andrade might be the biggest casualty of the Wednesday Night War, because he didn't go for all the potential, all the affiliation, title. He went nowhere in both companies. He went nowhere. He was in WWE with Angel Garza, and shouts out to Zelina Vega.
So he shows up on his own, and when I first saw him, I'm like, this guy is horrible. Like his look, like he had the suspenders and the hat with the feather.
That was a terrible look.
He had the bad tights, but then once he linked up with, they did that great angle where he was going out and partying, like he didn't care. Then Zelina Vega shows up and like whips him into shape.
Yeah,
and he shows up and like he gets reinvigorated, and he has the banger with, well, he beats Drew McIntyre first. He turns him into a title contender. That's where he beats Drew McIntyre for the NXT title. He kind of harpens back to when he was La Sombra. He brings out his mask just to wear during the entrance, and him and Johnny Gargano put on a classic at TakeOver Philadelphia.
He was banging with Gargano. I like that match.
And him and Gargano had two classics because the match they had at the TakeOver prior was good, and even him and Roddy Strong had a good TakeOver match that's kind of underrated. Before Roddy Strong linked up with Undisputed Era, but he was just generic babyface. But him and Aleister Black crossed paths, and the irony is that Selena Vega is with Aleister Black, Malachi Black, but they had a good match for the NXT title, and it went from one guy to the other.
Yeah.
And he goes to the main roster, and sure, he was a U.S. champ for a bit, but like you said, him and Angel Garza were a team, and they faced the Street Profits how many times and lost?
Every Monday night.
Was a running joke during the pandemic.
If it wasn't them, it was the Viking Raiders. I think.
No, if it wasn't a tag match, it was Andrade faces Montez Ford.
No, right. Well,
the next week, Andrade faces Angelo Dawkins, and
that was also the blackest and brownest that Raw would look, though. During the early quarantine, it was them, the Hurt Business. I don't know.
Apollo Crews.
I remember if Omos was around at that.
No, it was Apollo Crews. It was Ricochet.
There were a couple of black and brown people, and Andrade and Angel and Zelina were all up in there because Zelina, matter of fact, because that's when Zelina was doing a lot of commentary work, and then Bianca got called up, and they had a.
She gets called really right after Mania. They have the singles match that turns into a tag match that then turns into a 6-person tag match.
They really wrestled all the time. Yeah, you're 100% right about that. But yeah, I think it was at the WWE. They liked Angel more than Andrade, so they started to phase.
Meanwhile, Andrade is with Charlotte Flair, so he should be good, right?
You would think. Well, he should have been good.
He
should have been good. Yeah. You're right. He should have been good.
But that's why I've been saying the whole time with this Jimmy Uso Naomi thing, where people, if this man has that much stroke with Roman Reigns, like, why can't he get his wife in a good position? Oh, it doesn't work like that. No. It's like, you sure?
I wonder if. I guess the question is if the bloodline wasn't necessary, where would Mr. Uso be in the situation? Because this is a once in a lifetime thing. He's not. These looks are not happening again. Anytime
That's what I'm
soon.
saying. So you mean to tell me you can't even put the good word in for your cousin's wife?
She walked out.
And he could say, "Forget all that." Right. If he's that guy, because are they going to stop Roman Reigns' push? Come on.
But I think if he may not be that guy if she walks out. There's certain, I guess there's levels of power and to the point where you can't help but do what they say, because if you don't have them, you're going to be nothing. I think if Naomi was Roman Reigns' wife and the same thing happened.
Charlotte Flair is Andrade? Again, you mean to tell me Charlotte Flair threatens to leave, that they're not going to panic?
Charlotte Flair, well, she was gone though, right?
Imagine she said, I'm going to be gone for good.
I think the other thing, because the whole other thing, the way that Andrade got into the beef with Sammy Guevara is proof that Andrade is kind of like a cowboy.
Let's not forget that Sammy Guevara is the person everyone gets into a beef with backstage.
No, you're right. You're not wrong. But what I'm saying is, there's certain ways to handle it, and if you
out of all the people, it has his failures in both. It's not self-inflicted.
A lot of this is I don't know how much to what effect it was in WWE. Because he was.
No, I don't think it was nice. I think they just preferred Angel, like you said, Angel over him.
But I think
because unfortunately he couldn't hit his promos, his accents too thick, and
I think that was another
Angel Garza was a better talker.
If I remember correctly, Meltzer spoke about that about Angel being a more fluent English speaker than Angel, and that
which is why when he shows up, they have Vicky Guerrero introduce him as Andrade El Idolo, and then they pair him with Chavo Guerrero, and then that's dead after 2 weeks, and then they pair him with Jose the Assistant, and it's again AEW always had the bad thing of sticking these guys with managers that they didn't need. Did Lance Archer really need?
Penta don't need that. Shouts out to Dude.
Well, yeah, I always say that to Keeks. She's like, leave Alex alone. And I'm like,
shouts out to Alex. He's hype. He's great at catching the glove.
But I just
he don't do nothing.
Speak Spanish and be just be you.
I think but it's like Rey Mysterio and Psychosis. They didn't need like a dude bouncing around when they were in WCW.
They probably wouldn't have, well, back then they were just going to have the match. They didn't have a story.
But what I'm saying, like at the end of the day, Lucha Bros are kind of just going out there and having matches. Like I'm not saying that they're casualties of the Wednesday Night War, because they're not at all. They're phenomenal, but it's not like they have a actual linear story. Their storyline is basically,
their stories as of late have tried to matter more with them and the Young Bucks for the titles, and then facing
but even then, that's still
Andrade and Rush, and then now Pac kind of maybe wanting to leave Death Triangle by like. But that's stories they've been in. Yeah.
Don't nobody care about that shit.
Hey.
What I'm saying is the best Lucha Bros storylines in AEW. So I remember when they first came in, it was, oh shit, the history is in AAA, we was wrestling the Bucks, and then a week later we wrestled over here in PWG, and now we're over here in the Grand, and then it's about who won last time, who won X amount of times. It's never been about I don't like working with you, blase. Like I don't know, and I don't, because they don't have a problem with like how Lucha Underground was a soap opera. AAA, they've got family history, but it's like when they get here, you don't need to have Andrade and Penta do like American storylines. Like they could probably, I'm not saying they have to be cutting promos purely in Spanish, but I think you could approach those storylines differently to where you're not trying to fit them into an American pro wrestling storyline box. Let them go out there and just be them and put on dope matches and let it build from there. Because I don't know how many times they set up all them little groups with Andrade, and none of them little lackeys, like he had Private Party with them. None of that meant anything.
For his characters to become like an entrepreneur, but he mimics Black Mask from DC Comics, like the way his mask is in the pinstripe suit. He's like supposed to be like this mob boss in a way.
How much money does he have? How much money do we know we have?
Well, that's the thing, but he's supposed to come from luchador history, like I mean lineage, like his father wore it, and so on and so on. So like that legacy, and
they wrestle a lot, and you're only wrestling a lot because you can make a lot of money from wrestling a lot, or you need to wrestle a lot to make a decent amount of money. So,
and that's why that one time they did the AAA show where it's him and Ric Flair in his corner versus Kenny Omega and Don Callis in his corner for the mega title, and that was just while like again AEW didn't know what to do with him. Then they pair him with the Hardy family office, and then he buys them out, and then he has, like you said, Private Party, Butcher, and the Blade. And why would he give a fuck about these rando tag teams when he's Andrade? Again, they missed the boat when he challenged Sammy and Darby for the TNT title. Like he's a guy who can just, again, that TNT title needs to be the great match on TV every week or every 2 weeks.
Right.
Like go out and put. That's why months ago I said Ricky Starks should be that, because he could then carry a feud for to extend to multiple weeks. But now he has his sights on the bigger prize, which is what we'll probably talk to on BRP, Black Wrestling Proper. But
Wardlow's the TNT champion?
Yeah.
Yikes.
And before it was Scorpio Sky, before it was Sammy Guevara. And like that's what I mean.
At least Sammy wrestles every now and again. Wardlow wrestles, but then Wardlow matches, they don't feel like TNT championship matches. That's why it was squashes all the time.
That's why it was too early, but they had to ride his momentum. But again, they killed it instantly. Because I was going to say this for the show, but again, because we're having the Eliminator tournament, Kenny Omega wins the first one. He challenges challenges successfully because he beats Moxley to win the AEW title.
Right.
Danielson wins the Eliminator tournament last year. Has the draw of Hangman Page, then loses the rematch. So it's 1-for-1 in that tournament. Meanwhile, the face of the Revolution, aka the Sonic Ring ladder match, is 0-for-2 because Scorpio Sky won it and failed against Darby Allin, and Wardlow won it this year and failed against Scorpio Sky. The irony, and that plays into those are some stats for you right there in terms of that, but. Yeah, Andrade, it's again, he has this whole Sammy Guevara thing, which we won't get back into. But before that, what was he doing? He wanted to bring Darby Allin into the group for whatever reason. Like again, he was just buying wrestlers. Like
None of that made any sense whatsoever.
But what did I say earlier that segued into him was that after Malachi Black had his feud to Cody, it was Cody's turn to work with Andrade, and that killed his momentum because he put that man through a flaming table for no fucking reason, like on a random Wednesday night.
He just wanted to get his back
in November.
He was just trying to get his back blowed out.
Like it just didn't make any.
I'm sorry.
And that's what I mean. Like the cancer that is Cody Rhodes in wrestling is just,
Goddamn true.
You mean to tell me that man didn't put a cancer thing on Seth Rollins, who lost 3 straight matches to him, and now he's finally getting his run back?
Hey, Seth. I don't want to say
Vince
Seth
McMahon told Seth Rollins, "Go lose to this man 3 times," and in the third match, he can't even lift his right arm.
I'm just saying, all that losing is probably did really good for Seth finally winning because everything is amazing. You going to an arena and hearing the people, like it's the entire crowd. And I mean, I don't if he was winning a lot, I don't know if it's the same. I feel like.
So you're saying.
I'm saying that Triple H may be right. No, I'm just kidding.
No, because even like he beat Matt Riddle and he lost to Matt Riddle, but what mattered the next night? He beat Bobby Lashley and then was able to beat Matt Riddle the following week. So again, you can win and lose. You don't lose 3 straight times, especially the third one being a guy who's like,
I don't. But I think the one thing that you because you're right, but the one thing that you're not seeing is that Rollins has moved into the area where it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because he was white hot and people loved him regardless of if he won or lost. And because it doesn't matter, it was very easy to slot him in that role with that title. They're not going to do anything with the United States title anymore. He's got the belt. It's a prop for him to hold while he's screaming around, but he's so good that he can lose and
that
it doesn't
like
matter.
Someone you're a fan of. Do you have that image?
This you talking about?
Yeah, and his man, the hoe, right?
The top image was hilarious. I forgot that that hoe was
that he had to do
he had to be held. I found
that like it was an action movie. Like
I'm gonna spoil it right now, but a larger image of that from that same thing is gonna be the cover for this episode.
It's not. No, it's not.
It's got to be. It's
it has to be.
It's so perfect. Do I have it? Can I load it in?
Get off of him.
No, this is like, hold up, because it's not that image, but like this.
Yeah, that one. Yeah,
that's hard. Look at the crowd in the background with their thumbs down and shit. Look at that. I'm sorry. Anyway, Bryan
Danielson shows up. First of all, he steals Adam Cole's thunder. Again, that like we all were agreeing. It's like, how do you debut 2 guys on the same night and think it's a great idea?
What a terrible idea. That was really
bad. Tony Khan, booking genius,
Booker of the Year.
That's the cover image.
That's funny. He's going to be in conversations. He's going to be in conversation for Book of the Year. Just get ready. I'm preparing you now. Get ready for it.
Can we actually have to hit up Vince if we can. I mean, Vin as in MightyVin. Shout out to Bulls in the China Shop. If Vin can Photoshop Triple H with the point on Tony Khan Booker of the Year and make that the cover, because again, Wednesday Night War, like,
hit him up.
I'll hit him up and see if he can.
Hit him up and
see if they can.
Hit Vin up, see if that can happen. I'm gonna have to, because I mean this is gonna have to go out soon, so we'll see.
But no, Bryan Danielson shows up and he just stomps dudes out for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. He chokes them out. They tap. He fucking knocks their teeth out. He becomes the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson again. And he
brought it back.
He wins the AEW Eliminator Tournament. Then he challenges Hangman Page to, 2 classics. That 16-minute draw, which is just pure like, what the fuck? They actually did that. And then that 30-minute match is just as good too.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
And then him and Moxley have that good match at Revolution again. John with they're turning each other to the dark side in a way with the returning hero John Moxley.
Mm-hmm.
And John Kreese, Bryan Danielson being like, no, we should mentor these kids and teach them how to, no mercy, strike hard, strike first, strike hard. And they form the Blackpool Combat Club, which more or less is like, what kind of group are you? Because Is it a gang? Is it a club? Are they buddies or what is it? I mean,
For a while, it looked like they would just train pro wrestling with each
yeah,
other.
like I said, I had told you guys it's a team. It's a fight team. You know, like not every guy in MMA fight team are close friends. They just train together.
That's what it should. Well, it feels like that's what it started out as, and then it just became.
Well, that's why no one helps Wheeler Yuta when he gets choked. But if Danielson gets choked, they all got to come out or Moxley can. Because how many times does Claudio had to pick up John Moxley? Be like, nope, no, my friend, no.
They went from being a wrestling club to the guys that would fight Jericho and his friends for a while.
Yeah, that's what they're still doing. What do you mean for a while? That's why Graham is pissed. He's like Moxley. He's like Jericho and Danielson again.
But they're also they're transitioning into the
Sammy Jericho.
Well, Sammy Jericho. They're Blackpool is going to be fighting whoever MJF squad is, whether that's the Firm or whatever.
No, because MJF is maybe the one who will join Blackpool.
That sounds nice. I was also there when the Four Horsemen let Sting be an honorary horseman, and it's soon enough Sting got his ass kicked. So that's fan favorite babyface MJF. Y'all can try and figure out how long that's gonna last. But anyway,
but Danielson, he goes on a run. He's the guy who he was in WWE. Let's not forget, like I said, like this man was exiled. He was stacked. He was smashed and stacked at WrestleMania. And what was he prior to that? He was a loser by losing the Intercontinental title tournament final to AJ Styles. He lost the IC match to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania a few months prior. So when all these people like Meals and J5 say Danielson's a loser in AEW, he was a loser in WWE too. Like, let's not forget, he was putting these guys over. Like how he still is. While the other guy, you said Cesaro, had that run last spring in 2021.
Yes.
And that was it. And he came over here, had his run for a month, and he's back to doing the same shit.
He was the Iron Sheik to
Chris Jericho.
To Jericho's Hulk Hogan winning the ROH.
Took the belt off the octopus to give it to the Wizard.
It's disgusting. And now they're friends.
Well, Claudio's in the group because he couldn't make the match against Zack Sabre Jr. We didn't get the technical match that we all wanted and desired at Forbidden Door between ZSJ and Danielson. So he called in Claudio. And Claudio and Zack Sabre Jr. had a good match, but it wasn't what we were expecting with Danielson and Zack. But
Cesaro's definitely, I'm sorry, Claudio Castagnoli is a casualty of the Wednesday Night War.
But he was a casualty the minute he showed up on the main roster.
He showed up as a casualty of the war between the two.
He showed up and Vince McMahon heard him talking and he was like,
I think Bryan Danielson was
he's not, because he's the same role he was prior. And anyone who expected him to be AW champ, given the reports that he just wanted to wrestle. It's all he said the whole time. I just want to wrestle. I don't care about titles. I just want to wrestle.
And I think it's like a Moxley and like a Jericho. They mentioned that Danielson has also been important in regards to helping out rebuild the backstage rapport with all the pro wrestlers that they have in AEW. So I don't know. I'm not going to say they'd be in a worse spot, but who knows if he wasn't around to deal with some of the people that he's talking. I imagine the Yutas and the fuck is Yuta's homeboy, the one he fights all the time.
Daniel Garcia
is like a lot of the younger, maybe even like Lee Moriarty. A lot of the younger cats who are coming up probably look to a Danielson specifically. Because I would assume they kind of that locker room probably gravitates towards who they grew up watching or whose styles they emanate. So he's important because there's a lot of that there. So it's hard to call him a casualty in my book, but I would assume Justin would definitely call him a casualty of the Wednesday Night War or just a casualty in general, and Meals probably would as well. But I understand it.
That's because I think by them being WWE fans, like, all right, so Tony Khan should obviously make this guy champ, given how he was a former, again, that he's Bryan fucking Danielson, like, make this guy world champ, like, have him beat Hangman Page, and then, because realistically, shouldn't he? Again, if he's that guy, but it matters that Hangman Page was able to beat Danielson, shows how legit Hangman Page was, and then the crowd betrayed him. That was the whole thing.
Like I said, I get it. I totally understand.
The Claudio thing is, we thought if this guy was ever in another promotion, if he had went to New Japan like people wanted, or if he went down to NXT like what could have been suggested when he had his little run last year when they were cycling guys through, and like Finn Balor was able to go up down to NXT as we talked about in the previous episode and have an amazing run. People were hoping that would happen to Cesaro, but it didn't. He comes over. It seems like he gets his crowning moment winning the ROH World Title, and then Chris Jericho does Chris Jericho things, and he's the ROH World Champion instead. So
nuts. Jesus, who's next?
I think we got to go Karrion Kross. Given how is he a success story? Given how that he's back in WWE instead of going to AEW.
It's hard to call him a casualty only because he went from NXT staring down your boy Adam Cole to making the main run. Even if his main roster run in the beginning was some Mortal Kombat bullshit that a lot of people didn't understand or gravitate towards, and he got let go. He came back, and now they're doing that fucking black and white intro for 4 minutes, and he's been wrestling Drew McIntyre for like a month and a half. Like, he could be in a way worse position than wrestling the number 2 babyface over on SmackDown. So I don't know. He's one of those ones where if he wasn't doing what he was doing right now, yes, he would totally be a casualty because he'd even make it, like you said, to the other side. But
here's why I have him on here, because again, while he was NXT champ, or even when he debuted, that's when they were losing the ratings to AEW weekly. And he debuted with the big hype. The vignettes are great. He squashes Tommaso Ciampa. He has Scarlett. He beats Keith Lee, but he gets injured during that match, and he comes back kind of right as NXT had thrown in the towel against AEW. I don't know if they had made the move to Tuesdays when he had come back yet or not. So that's what I have him as a casualty in the beginning, because it seemed like he was destined to be one of these pillars of a black and gold era by like him having the look of a Triple H guy and a grand entrance and all that. And again, he's an all right worker, or this big character, but
he's doing cage matches with Drew McIntyre.
And that's the thing. Like he's a loser of the Wednesday Night War, because as NXT champion the second time, he goes up and loses to Jeff Hardy. He goes up and loses another match, and so it makes NXT look weaker. That's the aspect of like this show that was supposed to matter doesn't matter in the grand scheme. And while he didn't go to AEW, while it was talked about since when he was released, is he a guy that AEW would sign? And I think the rumors were right. Like, he kind of stands out over there. Like, there are smaller guys and he's a bigger guy, so would they have to treat him like a bigger star?
They try and make another Wardlow, because I don't think they know how else to book. He'd be a Miro Wardlow. Mirlo. But I hear you, but I think I disagree, only because is Karrion Kross a Triple H guy?
He always looked like one to me because he had similar look.
Sometimes it feels like,
and they're into that like medieval, Shao Kahn gladiator type skulls.
It's really Mortal Kombat that makes no sense to me. But I think like him being an NXT champion feels like a Vince move. Him going to the main roster feels like, and that getup feels like.
Well, that getup wasn't an NXT. That was the Vince McMahon input of him.
That's what I'm saying. But him winning the title, was that a Triple H move? Him winning the NXT title? Because when you're talking about things happening and then like ratings going down, like sometimes they try things. Sometimes you throw something at a problem and try and see if it sticks. And it feels like that's kind of where Karrion was in the WWE in the prior regime, where he was a new guy who they wanted to put some emphasis on, put some oomph behind, and it didn't work. Then they tried it again and it didn't work again. You can't fault him for that. And I think it's hard to call him a casualty when he's back and it's working. If he came back earlier this year, and was like fizzled out by like before SummerSlam.
It's actually starting to fizzle out a little bit.
His
match against Madcap Moss like week was dead quiet. Like,
I'm assuming the Drew match, the steel cage
is the end of it. Yeah,
that's the end. So it's real. Like now is the time to see, because he's gonna have to do something. You can't just he can't be all like, you can't waste that whole intro.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, where he was a Triple H guy, because I think at one point it made sense to have a guy like him as champion, because NXT had gotten to the point where the Garganos, the Coles, the Pete Dunnes, the Finn Balor's small guy technical wrestling champions, Tommaso Ciampa, are going to have to face this ultimate obstacle of this monster champion who can throw guys around and toss them and has this, witch-like woman in his corner to do some extra stuff, which is, again, the final person we'll talk about will be Keith Lee, but he's the person who beat Keith Lee to win the NXT title after Keith Lee had beaten Adam Cole to win the NXT title. And who knows if that feud was meant to go long term or not, because Keith Lee gets called up the next night while Karrion Kross has to vacate the title.
Word.
And it was, I think, primed about Karrion Kross being a Triple H like unstoppable champion, knocking down challengers until one person finally was the guy who was going to be able to, take down Goliath, be David in this story. Because he comes back, he beats Damian Priest, and Finn Balor's on his run as the Prince, and he ends Finn Balor's run, and Finn Balor goes up, and then Karrion Kross beats Johnny Gargano, Pete Dunne, Adam Cole, and Kyle O'Reilly in that fatal five-way, and is left with no one really to face, because it also seemed like he was maybe destined to get hot shot.
Vince wanted him early, yeah.
Once he had finally recovered. And I said that the Vince McMahon of booking of NXT guys is a whole nother story, and how the failed call-ups, which is Keith Lee.
It's a really good segue into Keith Lee.
Because, we know Keith Lee at Survivor Series 2019 going toe-to-toe Roman Reigns at the end. We know Keith Lee in the Royal Rumble 2020 going toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar. Monster. We saw him in two of the biggest stars the company had. He wins the North American title. He beats Adam Cole and then is the dual champion, vacates the one belt in a stupid way, but that's whatever. Right. He loses the title to Karrion Kross. He debuts the next night and beats Randy Orton in his first pay-per-view match, but he's wearing a shirt, and then he has a stupid skirt-like outfit, and
he was Bearcat at this point?
No, this is him being
just Keith
Lee with the bad theme. They gave him two different terrible themes right away, and again, Vince McMahon was basically fat-shaming him with the shirt.
Talk about not knowing how to book somebody when you're supposed to be this booking king, like you're presenting, because like they didn't know what the package was for Keith Lee at all.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even like hard because he's some complicated black man. It's kind of just
have you not seen Vader?
They didn't even think about him in that light. They thought about him as, well, he's black, but he's not. And then they got confused and they put a skirt on him and a shirt. I don't fucking know.
So he plays a part in the initial Wednesday Night War because he was pouncing dudes into the crowd while Dynamite was on the other TV. He was in War Games while Full Gear is going on. He is, North American champ while AEW's now 3-4 months in. Wins the big title to rival Jon Moxley on the other side as the dueling champs of their companies. He said he gets to the main roster, he flounders right away, but then the health stuff gets in the way, and that's something we weren't aware until he makes the comeback as Bearcat Lee, which is, I don't know if that's worse or better than what he was doing on the main roster. And he's in the singlet with the scratch marks, and sure, it was a touching tribute to Bearcat Wright.
Right. But
was that
it wasn't a fit? It didn't fit. It didn't make any sense. He wasn't talking about Bearcat. Why would he need to be doing?
What's a Bearcat these days?
Why would he need to be doing an homage to Bearcat?
Yeah,
because he's black.
Why is Pete Dunne butch?
It doesn't make any sense. It was really dumb, and I think they heard it immediately once he came out looking like that. It made no
that's
sense.
Not the Bearcat one. That's the original one.
That's what I'm saying, though, because he was gone, and when he made it, that was that debut, right?
He shows up and he challenges Bobby Lashley right when he comes back, and we're like, "Holy shit, Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley!" And he loses like in 5 minutes.
They fumbled everything. They didn't know what they had when he went.
Does
to the
AEW know what they have?
Well, that's the good question, because before he was a tag champion, I would say probably not. It felt like they had him, and they got a really.
It was a very short tenure until he won the tag title. He'd shown up in January or February, because Revolution was in March this year, and that's when he wanted to be in the ladder match.
Yeah.
That was his debut. He tossed poor Isaiah Cassidy all over the place, which is what spawned those Jazzy Jeff memes of getting.
No, but yeah, he was on a solo, and it was kind of just like he would be on TV.
Right, debuted in February, and then wins the titles in July. Okay. So he had 5 months of meandering. And what did he do in those interim months?
Nothing.
Just challenge guys, yeah.
But I think I didn't know what Swerve in Our Glory was going to do.
However, they are not the shortest reigning tag champions.
Who is?
Swerve, FTR. That's 63 days. Swerve in Our Glory was 70.
Oh, wait, what was the stat?
What's that?
Wasn't there a black person stat with Swerve in Our Glory or Swerve Strickland or something like that? Oh, was he like it was the fastest championship gold for?
No, it's the first all black tag team, because Scorpio Sky was the first black champion, but Frankie Kazarian was his tag partner.
That's what it was. I knew there was a specific black stat for them. How many days have the Acclaimed had the titles? That's a good.
They are currently at 44.
So they're a month away from eclipsing that.
Yeah. Well, they could potentially lose.
Oh, they got a match at Full Gear, right?
Yeah. And that's the thing. So it obviously looks that Swerve and Keith. Well, that's the thing. In the meantime, they were teaming up, but looked on the verge of breaking up. That's why their win mattered, because it seemed like these guys were finally going to break up, but they won the title, so they were more or less forced to.
They can't drip. They can't break up.
We brothers.
It can't break up. I'm sorry, they're still in there. Anybody watch the show? That those clips are still in there. I'm sorry, they're still in there. They may stay in there for a bit.
Play all of them. Might as well wrap this point.
This was the best
Accusations.
one.
That's what everyone's going to say this whole episode.
Accusations.
That's true. I should have used that every time Drip said somebody was a casualty of the Wednesday Night War. Just go back in your mind and throw
accusations.
In. Now, I made this one just because I like the.
Has to be the show closer from now on.
No problem. I love the. Wait. His interactions with Tony were so amazing, and because he did the wait a couple of times. Yeah. But when I was watching,
now,
we brothers.
I love
Miami's own Rick Ross. Let me tell you something.
the biggest boss.
I'm here with the biggest boss, Rick Ross fans, and here at Dynamite.
Matter of fact,
I haven't seen someone this lit since Ric Flair in '92. Like
that shit was not facts. I'm gonna put, where the hell is the clip?
He was just like, fuck. That's it. So is Keith Lee still winning?
I think Keith Lee.
We're all in agreement that this is better than the Raw run.
I was gonna say, I think Keith Lee right
with the Cloud Chaser is better than him in. You mean to tell me when I'm telling lies?
I think Keith Lee in this tag team with Swerve Strickland has done better for Keith Lee in AEW than Keith Lee on his own. But again, like you mentioned earlier with Karrion Kross, their pro wrestlers are only so big. So at a certain point, Keith Lee kind of gets maxed out of it. Like, I don't know if AEW is in a world where, and I'm probably like going to eat my words at some point, but is AEW ready to do Kenny Omega, Keith Lee?
They should.
They should. But do they
I mean,
see that as
NXT did
a
Adam
viable?
Cole, Kenny
They
Omega.
should.
I mean, Adam Cole, Keith Lee, yeah.
But do they see, because like they don't have him doing anything as a single star, but Keith Lee could do those matches.
Yeah,
It's
because
really
it'll be the
on
whole
them.
thing of like Kenny Omega going like this to Keith Lee's chest, and then Keith Lee the whole time being able to hang by doing leapfrogs and duck downs and
If
flipping out of an arm drags type stuff. Like,
I'm going to assume that Keith Lee wins the feud between him and his brother.
We brothers.
But I think because the money is in Swerve Strickland and whoever he can get to be on the show and be with and be this heel that he's, I mean, because that's what it is, right? There a lot of, when you talk about these a number of the, especially the hip hop,
his Cloudy of the Week.
I mean, a lot of the who Kid Fab was in the match with the Acclaim, like, you know, it happens. It's one of those things where I think they're going to continue to do that, and Keith Lee is going to be on the side, kind of.
That's, and this is why I said it when I said it on Black Wrestling Proper, that FTR should have won that match.
Mm-hmm.
Or did I say this on Geek Show? FTR should have won that match, and we get the acclaimed FTR. I probably said it both, but like FTR should have won that match so they can finally shut the fuck up about not getting the title match, face the Acclaim, put these guys over, or beat them, have all 4 gold belts. The Young Bucks can come back, and they have the rubber match, all the gold on the line, and that probably would have been smarter to take place at Wrestle Kingdom or something like that. But again, that's me being too fantasy booky, me being Linus Van Pelt about believing in the Great Pumpkin.
Sounded like me and shit. Me every time Bryan Danielson's on TV.
Because then it would make sense to put Keith Lee in this Eliminator tournament.
Right. He could, I mean, Keith Lee holding up AEW World Title gold or what?
Yeah, him versus Moxley would be a good match, or
you wouldn't be expecting it.
Or if MJF wins and does the whole "I tricked you" and is the heel champion, Keith Lee's a good guy to throw MJF around the whole time. MJF's just like, "What do I gotta do?" To survive. Yeah.
For a company that A, has a lot of diverse talent that can go, and B, is, you know, sometimes modeled after the Mid-Atlantic, the Jim Crockett stuff, I would watch WCW and you would see they wouldn't be long programs, a couple of months maybe, but it was a dope baby face who was taking it to the champion. Keith Lee, Keith Lee doesn't have to be a future title holder. He's a little older than some of these people, and he has, I believe he's got a heart condition. Like, I can understand.
Like Samoa Joe, he's had a bad string of health issues as of late. Yeah.
I can understand if they don't want him to be a touring champion, a champion holding the title for a while. But
I was wondering how long they were supposed to hold the tag titles, because that was so sudden, them winning. What was happening prior was it was basically Swerve in Our Glory versus Team Taz. That's what was biding their time, is that they were, you know, feuding with Ricky Starks and Hobbs.
Yeah.
And I think it was that tag team broke up first before Swerve in Our Glory did.
It sounds like they got an idea for Hobbs with Wardlow at some point, and that's a totally different conversation. But I think
they can go with Hobbs dethrones Wardlow as Keith Lee and Hobbs, or Keith Lee could be a challenger to Orange Cassidy's All Atlantic reign. I think a good match.
There's a lot of power in having, no pun intended, there's a lot of power in having a Keith Lee on your roster as a capable babyface in matches where you want your champion talent, who may be smaller, who may need to be put a little over as performers, just like you had the same way they use Willow Nightingale in a lot of those matches. I hate to be like that, but just, and if you don't believe me, go and I don't want to sound crazy, but just like in the FTR match, in the match that Swerve in Our Glory had with the Lucha Bros, the best spots in that match were when Swerve Strickland was knocked out of the ring and Keith Lee's in there doing Canadian destroyers with Penta.
Yeah, he takes the bump. He had to take the bump against Adam Cole in NXT.
He will put on a 20-minute phenomenal match with MJF, and then he'll stand there and take that damn punch with the ring while the ref's back is turned and be knocked the hell out.
Well, it'll probably be the punch and the title shot, because one will like get him on his knees, and then he'll grab the belt, and then like boom, like the final.
That's 25 minutes on Dynamite. tell me I'm lying. That's a phenomenal TV main event. But
I think out of all these people, he's the only one who isn't a casualty, given how he won a title. I know Miro did as well, but it took him a lot to get going. Like Keith Lee has the shortest, like, all right, it worked out right away. Whereas like Adam Cole, like I said, it played out like, oh, it's gonna happen, and it hasn't. And now it's also wondering like when and if is the thing, like if he can come back. That's the big thing. Not just like it's a bad concussion. They don't even know if he could come back.
Yeah,
and Kyle O'Reilly's injuries are pretty bad, and it's like he needs to recover. So like these guys that we've listed have just been casualties as a fact. And I hate to say it, but it's played out as so.
I think I guess it's good to have the conversations with everybody because it's not just like a one and done. Like the reasons why a Kyle O'Reilly might be considered a casualty of the Wednesday Night War are vastly different than why you may call
when he's
a Danielson or somebody.
A reason the war was able to happen by Undisputed Era being a key part of Black and Gold, and that's what made like the move to live on Wednesdays seem like a big deal because he was a pillar,
right?
You know, Undisputed Era is its own pillar of NXT Black and Gold, and to lose that many times to Dynamite was what shook the faith that Vince McMahon had in Black and Gold and a lot of these talents. And I wonder if the guys that had been there prior, again, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross, if he looked down on them being like, well, these guys are on the brand that always lost, so why should they matter?
Do you think BRP maybe BRP is going to get to a point where there's enough people involved where we'll have like pillars, whether it's like the foundational pillars. Yeah, but I mean, you can't.
That's why you're the OG3.
Or you're too kind. But like, if there's like 20 people involved, and it's like, who are the new pillars of the Black Wrestling Podcast? And it's like some motherfucker named Joey, and like I don't know. I think
people would have to say that. I mean, and I don't want to throw shade at other podcasts, but I think people would have to say that Black Wrestling, Black Announce Table, the A Show, and either Public Enemies or Those Wrestling Girls would be the pillars of.
That's what they
a Black Wrestling Podcast, given anniversaries and episode counts, and
I think you have
Wrestling Realm, Jobber Tiers. There's so many others too, and it's for people to decide. But I mean, if you're wondering, like, are we pillars? I would say so.
Are they saying it because we've been around for a while, versus are they actually listening and paying attention to what's being said?
We can point out things that we've said that have been, copied.
Could point out
things we've said, things that we've done like
but
this.
We can also point out things we said that like in the pro wrestling world have also happened. Like
that's because phones are always tapped.
But what I'm saying is like when we have. It's such an interesting back and forth that I have in my brain, because while I know that BRP is bigger than pro wrestling talk, it's actually funny because I think everybody focuses on everything but the pro wrestling talk, and then when we get into pro wrestling talk, I don't know if people recognize, but that's why we need a white noise. That's why we need a black.
That's why Fam says we're Insight Entertainment. What he said this week mattered in terms of you can, if you want this in particular, like straight wrestling talk, you can find that anywhere else, everywhere else.
Facts.
But if you want a particular kind, well, you'll get the craziest stories ever told, whether it's by him or Math or you or Mimi, and maybe occasionally me. I could have contributed to one of the combos, but I didn't want to embarrass myself, so that's why I didn't.
One of these days.
No, there was a topic that we were talking about, and I have I actually kind of have a story that I can relate, but I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna out myself.
One of these days,
show I would do that. I was like, I'm like, you know what, maybe I could say it on White Noise, but even then, I'm like, no, because it just would have made me be like, what a loser, like as he says in Wedding Crasher, what an idiot, like,
right?
When one's in the world feral, but no, I mean, we can talk wrestling with the best of them. But again, no one's gonna give you jokes and stories and even like the random tangents and all the ridiculousness that we can, and in a positive way. And then, like you said, like we can, like, as I'm someone who likes to sit and just watch y'all tell these stories and all these jokes. And when I can understand it, I can, play along with it because there'll be some references. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
What the
like,
fuck are they talking? What are these old men talking about? Sometimes we go.
But then, and then I can, but I can also talk real wrestling too, and so can you, so can Mimi, so can Matt and Fam, and when we have Black John Studd on, or my dad, or anyone, again, like who brings on their dad to a podcast, or who brings on Downtown Tony Brown to a podcast, multiple podcasts, I should say.
Oh shit, we got a whole series with that man because that's home team.
Hey now.
Tony Brown.
Hey now.
Wishing, praying on my downfall.
Hey now.
We gotta get out of here.
Be honest, Cal, who do you think has this coin flip? The coin flip champion, Matt.
He do be. We would need to go back with the stats. He do be.
No, he won it twice. He didn't win it when we had the 5-way tie, but he beat me, and then he beat you with the coin flip.
He definitely beat me with a coin flip. So he's got an advantage in terms of winning coin flips.
I went halfway through the picks. I'm like, wait a goddamn minute, this.
I didn't realize y'all had the same picks.
Something's up, and then the next night I'm like, let me double check, and I'm like, son of a bitch! Like it was Kaiser Soze. I'm like, motherfucker! Like
I thought it was funny. Me, because me.
But what I wanted, but halfway through, I'm like, he's expecting me to switch one of these picks, and and my whole thing is like, I'm not gonna let you bluff me. I'm not gonna. I'll call your bluff. We'll go flip a coin. I ain't gonna be like, no, Oscar Alexa Bliss. And
I like how the predictions game turns into Drip playing fucking Texas Hold'em poker.
No, legit.
Strategy in his
To
brain.
me, the whole time, like I was just like, I feel like Kyle Shanahan coaching the Knights. I'm like, oh fuck, what do I do next? Like. Everyone's
What does that move mean? Why is he saying Bobby Lashley like that? What does that mean?
That's like when he was like Braun Omos, and then that morning he was like, I got Braun, right? And I'm like, yeah, he's like, all right, I'm sticking with that. I'm like, motherfucker, like, because obviously like, well, I know Braun's gonna win this match, so like,
I make my picks when we have. I don't even really think about it. I make my picks when we have the conversation, and I forget them. I was surprised I had 6 wins. I thought I was going to do a lot worse. Anyway,
if he wins that coin flip, I'll probably put this in the oven. I don't know what I'll do.
I'll put this. See, that's what I'm talking about. Glad it's not snow. Don't fucking cook the belt, bro. We'll see what happens.
Like Chappelle and like with Stedman, I love her too. He like holds the Oprah money like.
I love her too is good. Drip.
Whatever.
Let the people know where they can find you, bro.
As always, you can find me on Twitter at Davis, aka Drip, Instagram DavisColin.DC. Oh, real quick, 2 things. What are your thoughts on her loss? Have you even listened to it?
I've skimmed through her loss. I think the one song that I did. See, the thing is a lot of the songs were sounding the same. Okay. Like if it wasn't just like a dope trap beat, it was like, all right, here's a dope trap beat, and then we're gonna transition into and like I as I was going through, like I don't care about any of this shit. But when I found
you're not being asked at the employer to potentially do anything related. Okay.
No, if I was, I would have. But yeah, I nobody said anything about her loss.
Because I know you did the exit survey for Honestly Nevermind, and you were just like, this needed to be shorter.
I will say that when I heard that there was a Daft Punk One More Time sample on there, I found that and that's the best.
I was wondering, there was that thing when I heard it was One More Time. I'm like, is this Daft Punk?
And
in the middle of the ocean, when I heard that the second and third time, I'm like, oh, I know Fam's gonna like this track, and then Fam listens to it, like, damn, that's right, because that's the like Drake rapidy rap.
I as much as I liked, what's the name? What was the name of the song from Honestly Nevermind? Jimmy something?
Oh, Jimmy Cooks. You didn't think
Jimmy Cooks
that didn't need to spawn a whole album of its own.
I thought as much as
Knife Talk last year.
As much as I loved Jimmy Cooks and the way it was such like a contrast on the last album, I know
why.
Oh yeah, because everybody loved it, and I'm fine with it.
I'm saying like he had to throw Jimmy Cooks at the end because people were going to shit on Honestly.
Oh no, of course,
they did. So
he needed that there. He needed a regular hip hop banger on there.
Yeah.
Doing the next project so soon, being like the two of them locked in the studio to make an album, like it felt a little too desperate.
Today? what I told Banks today, because we talked about it, and I'm like, I don't know, for some reason it's making me see him as an actor more than a rapper or singer. Like, he is playing the role of fuck these hoes. Whereas, like, like, it's because he showed up being, like, Lil Wayne's chosen one in a way.
Right.
And then he becomes like what a studio hip hop version is supposed to be with Thank Me Later.
Right.
And then he becomes the guy who he wants to be with Take Care. Like, I want to make this sad music, that sounds like The Cold, but then I'll have times where I show you I can rap and I am for real.
Right.
And then he kind of carries that through if Nothing Was the Same. And then if you're reading this, It's Too Late. It's just to purely be a surprise, and I can do anything at any time and dominate the landscape. And What a Time to Be Alive is, I'll show you I can hang with the guy who is the best right now in future, or the guy you're all championing instead of me. I just won this feud against the guy who you said was, again, the hardest guy out besides Future. And then Views is his, this is a masterpiece I've been working on and towards, and everyone's like, this really? And which is why he has the t-shirt now that says Views is actually good, because everyone's now come around to, like, that's the forgotten album that Drake made was Views. Like, where, like, the whole time it's like that was it, like he had said it was. More Life is just him experimenting. Scorpion, it's him like, I'm gonna make Godfather 3 because I can. Right. And then he has Dark Lane Demo Takes. I'm just fucking around. I can do whatever. I'm that guy. And Certified Lover Boy, I swear it was supposed to be something else. Like, Kanye West stuff happens and he course corrects. To me, that's what that album feels like until the end. Like, the last 6 tracks feels like what he was going for with this.
Again, that project.
With the kind of like sappy lover boy tones of, like, get along better with your friends, Race Your Mind, TSU, Into Deep. Like, I think that was the sound it was initially supposed to be, but like he adds in a Kid Cudi feature, a Travis Scott feature, a Jay-Z feature. It's almost like he's poking at this guy who he's feuding with and the people that are close with this guy.
Word. No, right.
And then honestly, never mind. It's, again, I can do anything that's random, and then it's just house music, if you would call it that, as a house aficionado, which you did on that one Ringer podcast episode.
He is doing it, but yeah, it was so off.
But it's him being like, let me try something different, and then people didn't like it, and now he has to come back with something like this that's supposed to be hard. And again, but it's, again, different characters in a way. Like, he was the father, like he's the lover boy, the father, the biggest star in the world, and now again he's like, I'm tired of these women now. They just ruined my life the whole time. Like, I'm not going to give them the time of day. It's, I'm like, is he just playing roles now? Because I think Jinx had a good tweet where he was like, this seems like a guy who's doing cosplay. Like, he's not. I'm like, and as, again, that's good. You all know I'm a huge Drake fan, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Because there are times where it's like, are you really this, like, Slaughter Gang? Yeah, like, are you that guy? Do you want to be the guy with the mask and the gloves? Like, are you sure? I understand it, because it sucks being the lonely, sad guy about, the women of the Ghost of Girlfriend's past and all that, and what if instead of what if, what is. Yeah, that's what I'm making. And I'm like, he is DiCaprio. I said this to Banks, like, he's DiCaprio these days. Like,
that makes sense.
The younger women, I have the money, but what's missing is this. But I guess I'm just accustomed to this lifestyle, and I'll own it. You know what? And all that. But I wondered what your thoughts were on it, because I imagine I'm the only one on the show who gave a fuck. Because that's the thing, when we were recording, no one made a reference. But I'm like, we gotta hurry up. This Drake drops tonight.
I was barely thinking about it. I damn sure wasn't ready for the impact of what may or may not have been a Meg Thee Stallion. And from what Yachty said, it was an ass shot line. It was a BBL line.
And I said this too, that, listen, it's not the first time in rap where something like you shouldn't have said that has been said. And isn't that the whole kind of history of rap in a way? Like, people say stupid things. Again, I don't like that he said it either, if it is indeed an actual reference to her. But it's not the first time this has ever been done.
There was one homie who was on Facebook who was like, did y'all actually, and in context of the verse,
it sounds like it.
I can understand why you would say, oh yeah, he's talking about women getting BBLs and then looking like a stallion. But shots
No, I
getting
understand it, dude.
shots and then looking like a stallion. It's a double entendre.
Yeah.
And
again, it was wordplay, and it was wordplay that people had a backlash to. But like,
that's
there
why
have been other
she's
wordplays
pissed.
in hip hop that have been just as bad.
Her thing, even if she's saying,
and she has the right to be upset. I'm saying, like, isn't all hip hop wordplay and cleverness? Like,
no,
I dropped that here and there, or like,
you're right.
Unless it's out in the out, like, in like, what did Tupac say? Like, hey, what, you got sickle cell or something? Like, that's just like legit going out there, like,
and that he
no,
wasn't
sorry,
even
that's going out there like to stick the
because it wasn't even in a verse. He was just saying that shit. But I think the thing is Drake saying
being
that
this guy,
it looks like he's saying, I'm with Tory Lanez. Mm-hmm. Like if he was Meg Thee Stallion's,
he is, because he had all the boys in the new Toronto want to be me a little, and then they made up like years later.
But what's his relationship with Meg? Because if he's
probably
back,
isn't one.
It can't be at this point. But you can't be like, I feel like I don't have any thoughts on this situation. And after saying
in it,
that, so it's kind of, I don't want, it's hypocritical is not what it feels very.
He patched up with Chris Brown.
It feels very undrakey.
No, it doesn't, because he patched it up with Chris Brown, and he said it in the Rap Radar interview, like, me and this guy had a beef over a girl. I'm like, over a girl? It was real. And what did he do to her? But at times he has shown his hand at being an asshole. And I'm saying this as a guy who's like a huge fan, like my favorite artist. Like, he's tipped his hand a few times, and people either forget it or choose to ignore it.
I think he has to be a little bit more sensitive, a little more delicate when it comes to, I mean, not just people getting shot, but like women, and like the conversation about women in hip hop. It's very easy for these 13-year-old boys to be swayed. Like, again, you saw how everybody flocked to everything Kanye West was saying about Pete Davidson before the anti-Semitism shit, and a lot of that was just teenage boys thinking that it was cool that the Yeezy guy didn't give a fuck and was telling people that shit. It's like Drake's got, his voice he's got a lot of power in his voice, and my hope is that he's not just throwing out lines that are going to end up being detrimental to certain situations. But I don't know their relationship. I don't want to speak too much on that stuff, because her loss is definitely not. As a matter of fact,
no, that's what Banks said. Like, I'm too old for this. Like,
like I gave it a spin. Maybe I'll give it one more to see if there's something that I actually care for listening. But like, I don't listen to Certified Lover Boy. I don't listen to any of the Dondas. I'll run back that West Side Gun, though. I'll run back the Benny the Butcher.
Yeah. All right, old man. All right.
I'm just saying, a lot of this. Look, insight and entertainment is all we're trying to give you.
We gotta make sure that happens when all five of us are on the same screen. As that caption needs to be placed below.
I'm keeping it in here for next time. Anyway,
but we do have a Goss Watch update.
Fuck, we really do.
Because there was one. It kind of mattered. It factored in last week, but Aaron Taylor Johnson has joined The Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling, directed by David Leitch, who did Bullet Train, so it makes sense why he's collaborating with Aaron Taylor Johnson again, given how that came out this past summer. Written by Drew Pierce. So the role that Aaron Taylor Johnson will be playing is the movie star that Ryan Gosling had once doubled for at a time, and more or less kind of like took the life that I guess he was supposed to have. And he's gone missing. And it seems like Ryan Gosling has to find him, or is the other meaning of the term Fall Guy. Like, he might be the one responsible, because again, this is about the Lee Majors show from the 80s with a stuntman who's a bounty hunter, and Stephanie Hu, I believe, it from Everything Everywhere All at Once. I haven't seen that.
Oh, you should watch it. Oh, I believe that may be the daughter.
Yeah, she's joined the cast as well, and and it's slated for some time next year, I believe. But that's the only.
Is that on Netflix?
That's a real movie? I think it's a Sony movie. Let me double check.
Oh, it's a Sony movie. We'll see. I'm hyped. I remember the
2024.
That's a
It is. Oh no, Universal.
Oh
yeah. A battered past his prime stuntman finds himself working on a movie set with the star for whom he doubled long ago and who he replaced. The star then goes missing. Emily Blunt is also attached, and so is Winston Duke and Baku himself, which segues into what we'll be talking about in probably the next 2 weeks, which is Black Panther 2018 and Wakanda Forever.
I feel like Black Avatar
I
is going
am
to be a
hyped.
conversation.
Like,
When I saw where the Angela Bassett may be up for an Oscar and she's a supporting actress in this film, I said, what's about to happen to her? What's about to happen in this movie? I can't. I because of Bryan Danielson and Halloween Ends and a lot of things that come out.
you need
this
one
year,
positive.
Yeah, like I've been so desensitized to like caring about things, but like I really want this film to be good. I'm seeing it very soon. Hopefully, by the time people have seen this, if I haven't seen it, I should be.
What
seeing
show
it
had
soon.
there was not a show or anything this year that?
Atlanta.
Oh, okay, yeah, see Atlanta.
That's it. And people don't care about Atlanta. People aren't talking about the Atlanta.
I haven't caught up. I haven't watched episode 1 of season 4 yet.
It's season 4.
So we watched season 3. Have y'all seen? You, me, and fam. We talked about it. With Trini to the bone.
That was
little man who said
the drip story.
You know me, heart.
On that note, Drew, we gotta get.
I love that scene because the way the woman looks at him, like,
you know me, heart is crazy. Trip, man. Where can people find you?
No, I already said where they can. Oh, Banks vs. Davis every Sunday on YouTube. Banks vs. Davis Patreon. But where can the people find you, Khal?
At khal on Twitter, at Black Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. BlackWrestling.com is the website. And as always, you can find the Black Wrestling Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google. Thursdays, 8:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. You can find the Black Wrestling Podcast. Black Wrestling Proper going live. Sometimes we got guests. I don't know if we got a guest this week. We will be.
We might if we don't have.
That's right. We'll see.
Someone.
We'll see what happens, but we're definitely going to be recapping.
And we may or might not have a new champion again. Like that's why I have the question mark. Like I'm Ron Burgundy on my name. Like
if you're on Patreon, we're good. We'll see what happens Thursday. If you're not on Patreon and you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching this late. So hopefully you saw who the new champion is. If there's a new champion, you saw if there were any guests. If there were any
winning
guests.
That coin flip.
Drip said the question mark's just going to be
putting Matt Damon in the dirt.
Damn. All right. On that note,
this title ain't leaving me.
On that note, we got to get the hell out of here. Rick Ross, please, if you would, sir, take us out.